Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Up Zone, where understanding politics is made simple. We are your two hosts. I am Tisha Waddell, the former City Council Tisha S. Don't forget the S, because if you Google, I want you to make sure you get the right person. Tisha S. Waddell, former City Council representative with the City of Fayetteville, Third District, and Mr. Elmer Floyd, former House Representative with the 43rd District in the state of North Carolina. Mr. Floyd,
Oui, madame.
what's good with you this morning, sir?
So far, so good, so good, so far.
Anything exciting happening in the world of Elmer Floyd?
No teach day. I'm expecting to get a call at 10:31 from one of my creditors, so I just want to make sure that I'm available to let them know that I'm going to send it off.
They'll get it when you get it.
Yeah, but I don't trust the U.S. mail, so the U.S. mail is is you can get it, but the question of it is when.
Right, yeah, because it's got a long journey to get from A to B.
I don't care how you look at it.
It's got to go to
Everything.
QRNS before it can get to B.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's one thing as we go through this program, what people often look at when they're doing that absentee ballot. So as we go into the program, we can
Absolutely. Well,
discuss.
let's start with that because we're nearing the election cycle. It's almost time for early voting to start. We've got just a little bit longer and we'll be kind of rounding the corner and heading into that final stretch of the election cycle. And we do need to remind people that you do have multiple options of how you can vote. I am still a proponent of voting at your polling location. I still think that that is the most efficient and effective way to leverage your vote. I think the only time that we should veer from that is in the event of an emergency or in the event that it is absolutely not possible. And in those instances, then you have what other options, Mr. Floyd?
You can request an absentee ballot, and I think they are available starting the 6th, which is tomorrow, I believe it is.
Okay.
But,
And
but
how does that work? Let's tell the people how that works.
you can request it, and it's going to be mailed to you, but it have to be received uh, by 7:30 on November the 5th. On
So
November the
you've
5th
got
at
to get it in. If
7:30.
you don't get it in, or if and it's not once you mail it in, it's out of your hands.
That is true. I mean, so now you have to understand that the postal system, all of our mail goes to goes to Charlotte,
Charlotte. Mm-hmm.
and then it returned back to Fayetteville. I'll give you an example too. I sent a bill to a certain place in Charlotte. When we looked at the tracking mechanism went to three postal, whatever you want to call it, location, and
Right.
it got there 11 days later.
Right.
From the day that I mailed it.
Right.
Right
From
now,
Fayetteville. And where was it going? Where was its
it's going to
ultimate
Charlotte,
destination?
and there was a late fee that was associated with it,
Right.
and and the person on the other end that received my money was just as nice and kind. Sir, we don't have anything to do with that. This
Yeah.
is the date in which we received it. This is the date in which we posted. Okay,
So, sir, it is late.
it's late.
It's
Okay.
late. Right.
Now, what she said, I looked at the postmark, what I mean, on the letter, but we received it.
And see, I always thought that it was associated with the postmark. I always thought that they did check the postmark. So it's up to the creditor essentially, or whoever the person is that you're paying, whether they'll accept
I,
that or not.
I mean, when they got it, it was 11 days after the date that I mailed it.
Yeah.
So I was assessed a late fee. Because when they got it and when they entered it into their system,
It was late.
it was late.
It was late, yeah, and I'm telling you, and if you are on a fixed budget, Imma tell you what you don't want is late fees.
Well, and that's what I'm saying, that those person who wants to do, and like you mentioned, uh, you know, two options that's important to me. One is that we have 8 polling sites,
Mm-hmm.
So you can go to one of those 8 polling sites, and if you some kind of way everything is not in order, you
Uh-huh.
have seven, yeah, maybe 15 to 17 days from early voting time, started, to correct it, to
Okay.
get the necessary documents, whatever you need there. And if not, then you can vote. Uh, then you can vote.
Well before
Oh,
going
wait,
viral
Mr.
was a
Floyd.
thing.
I don't know what my computer is doing.
Yeah, on election day, you have to vote at the site.
Okay.
Okay, on election day. And
Okay.
one thing that I was successful with is that if there's some discrepancies or whatnot, they will give you a provisional ballot and then, say that you have to do A, B, C, D.
Okay.
But they will always confuse the voter is that it has to be in by canvases. How many persons know what canvases is?
Right.
So they give them a document, saying to them that you got to have A, B, C, D back, in order for your vote to be, counted. So it's
It's
it's a very
confusing.
tricky
It's
process. But
confusing. Yeah.
I know
And
a
it
lot of people use absentee ballot, but I don't trust the postal system that way with something of this importance.
right.
Even if I got it, I would get you or either Larry to drive me to the board of election to drop it off. I
Right.
just I just don't trust
It,
the system
Mr.
that
Floyd,
way.
it just makes more sense. It just
Yeah.
makes more sense. If you want to make sure that your vote is counted, you make sure that you get up to that polling location and you cast your ballot. It just makes sense.
Well, and that's I mean I know people utilize that, now people overseas is different. It's different. But if you can get to a polling site, even if it's curbside voting, I'll take that versus gambling with the postal system, okay?
Right.
Because there's no guarantee
And
what
you
you.
know, and you know, Floyd, curbside voting is very effective. It's a very effective method. If you are disabled and you are not able to get out and stand online or be able to, walk at a pace that you would feel comfortable getting into these polling sites, just have somebody pull you up. A poll worker will come out to your car and they will do all of the things for you. You can check over your information and you can have your ballot cast. And these
and
poll workers are serious. The people at the board that are working at these sites, they're serious about that job and there's oversight over them.
and, and the thing about it, even if well, let's say the polls close, I think it's 7:30. Well, if you in line, when the polls close, and you that car, the fifth car, then you know that's where the cutoff is. Just because the polls close at 7:30 and you in line at 7:30,
Right.
still it's going and you the
They got to
fifth car.
let you in. They got to take you.
So I strongly encourage you, just like what you said, if you can get to one of the 8 polling sites, please. And on election day, you have to vote at your polling site, please. I just
Absolutely.
don't want my vote to be rested upon the U.S. postal system.
Yeah, you don't want it to end up in one of those blue bags in somebody's garbage can.
I mean, you know,
It
we
has
talk.
happened. Let's not act like it has not happened.
That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's important if I want my candidate to win, whichever Democrat, Republican, undefeated, Libertarian, whatever.
Right.
It's important to me that my vote counts. So I'm going to participate, and I'm going to make sure that I'm at a positive site. I'm not going to trust the United States postal system because they say we can't guarantee it.
No guarantees. Mr. Floyd, thank you for reminding us about that. What announcements do we have? What's going on in our community?
Well, the NAACP is going to have their banquet at Fort Liberty
Okay.
next week.
Fort Bragg.
Yeah, yeah, next week. And the tickets are $65. So dial up the NAACP and it starts at 5 o'clock and get you one of those $65 tickets.
Okay.
The uh, the Armstrong.
Will you be attending, Mr. Floyd?
Well, Tisha, I have one of those $65 tickets. You know, the Armstrong High School is having their banquet, and that's going to be at Armstrong High School, and that's
Okay.
going to be on the 21st.
Where
And
is
so
Armstrong High School?
it's uh, it's off of what they call it, old 301, going through Eastover. When you
Okay.
get off the Eastover ramp, you go down for make a quarter of a mile and turn left, and it's down there.
Okay.
And want to give Representative Luca a big clap because his son was his grandson was advertised, was viewed on the national news as being the youngest pilot to receive his license at age 17. So
Let me ask you a
uh,
question. Does Mr. Lucas only have one child? Is Marva his only child?
now he has three. I told they
Is
got
this
two daughters.
Marva's son or is this one of his other children's children?
It's one of his. I don't know which one it is, but it's
Well, either
more.
way it goes, this is the reason I'm asking that because I want to give the parents a shout out too. So
Yeah,
congratulations to the
more.
parents. Yeah.
I think his last name is Moore.
Okay.
So it had to be one of his daughters.
Okay.
Okay. So and I also just want to give Fayetteville State a big shout out because this is one of the most lowest, you know, to attend in the
And
United
they're
States.
experiencing their highest enrollment. I think that the last report that I read said that they had enrolled seven at upwards of 70,000 people. So
Well,
70,000
that
students.
goes
So
see
congratulations.
that goes also with the North Carolina Promise. When
Right.
North Carolina first Promise started, and I was in the General Assembly, many people in my community beat that back with a stick.
Because they wanted to maintain this air of exclusivity.
Yeah, I mean,
But they holler, but the Democrats holler that everybody should be afforded an education. So you would think that this would, you know,
you would think that. I mean, but some kind of way, they thought that it would not be funded going forward. But there was a commitment made. So, and that what we don't understand, teachers, just like in school, funding for the next year is determined on the first 20 days of the school year.
right.
If I had a return, I was going to try to pass a bill also, is that it would be also on the last 20 days of school
Hmm.
because there's been, so many minority students are sent home.
Right.
So if you
Oh
divide
yeah, I'm gonna need
children,
you to keep them from start to finish, or you
but
gonna have
it
to
might,
pay us some money back.
yeah,
Yeah.
you see, so my thing was that the school system will find some type of program to keep these kids from being suspended, long
And
term
you know,
suspension.
Mr. Floyd, and I'm gonna say this. I noticed, and it's been a while since I've been in the classroom, but I noticed that students who were considered problematic or who the schools did not think would test well were essentially kind of pushed out of school right before EOG season
Well, see,
because
that's
the schools wanted to maintain a good standing with their EOGs, so they would try and get those kids out so that they wouldn't affect their. And I mean,
overall grading. Yes, but the thing about it, T, is that if you look at that, then they will find some alternative to address the issue than to send the kids home because
mhm,
the funding is based on
they
the
would
first
have
10
to.
and the
They
last 10.
Yeah.
Okay, so you see a difference, and Johnny would stay in school a little while longer.
Yeah, they'll be begging them parents, please bring your kids back.
But
Bring your
but
children back.
but but I told the chancellor, he came to the Black Caucus meeting and he wanted to after common sense set in that he wanted to change it to the American scholarship or something to that effect. But of the Black Caucus members, I voted against that because I knew that it would be a waste of time to send forward a amendment to change the name to that request. So,
And that request, so what wait now. So the request was to make it University of North Carolina at Fayetteville.
no, it was the American scholarship instead
Got it.
of opportunity NC Promise.
Oh, got it. Okay, I was
Okay,
looking at
so
something.
that would have been a waste. That would have been a waste of of time. And I said to one faculty member at Fayetteville State at that time, now tell me now, I'm not the brightest person in the General Assembly. It just so happened that my community voted me in. I said, but tell me, are you going to give an E student a scholarship? I said, are you going to do that? You
Right.
going to give that scholarship to the best and the brightest to increase your enrollment so overall more students will come in.
Right.
So what's the problem?
Right. I
Yeah.
want to also just again give a kudos to Chancellor Allison, because if you recall, Mr. Floyd, when Miss Chancellor Allison came in, he was demonized by some members of this community. There were members of the board at Fayetteville State who were so upset about him being selected for that position. There were alumni who were just so upset, and even in the face of all of that, he's still managing to serve well in this capacity and do great things for the university and the community.
But two things. I mean, they are going to, they're renovating. They're going to open the Bronco Square.
Hmm.
They're doing a lot of work there. Chick
Yeah, it
Fil A,
looks great over there.
yeah, and Chick Fil A is going to open.
And you don't just bring Chick-fil-A doesn't just show up everywhere.
I
Chick-fil-A
don't
is
know.
a major economic driver. So trust and believe, when the doors of that Chick-fil-A open, the traffic along that corridor is going to tremendously increase.
I don't know what they have, but I, expressed to someone in my family. I said, let me tell you, you know, I don't mind carrying you, into Chick Fil A. And she's about 57 now. I don't mind carrying you into Chick Fil A or any other restaurant, but I'm not going to buy you a cup of ice. You know, so when you get a soda there, only thing you got is a cup of ice and
But
a
let me tell you though, if you dine in, Mr. Floyd, here's the beauty of Chick-fil-A. If you dine in, they come by your table as if you were at a restaurant, and they will refill your drink as many times as you want them
I,
to.
I understand that, Chief, but when you go through the drive-in window,
You have to
only
ask
thing
for
you
no
get,
ice or light ice when you go through the drive
because
through.
you gonna get a cup, served well. Now, don't get me wrong. Now, served well,
With my pleasure.
served, served well. But you got a cup of ice, and I'd rather stop at Walmart and pay $1 for a cola,
Yeah,
stop about a Dollar Tree and get me a bag of ice, put it in the
yeah,
freezer, and go home and eat my Chick Fil A.
yeah. When we treat ourselves to Chick-fil-A, we always ask for no ice, because you are absolutely right. You take 3 sips and you're like, "Where's my lemonade?"
I mean, but it's good and it's an economic, driver. Just that's me personally. But
Absolutely. Mr. Floyd, I have a question for you. We were talking about buildings for sale in the downtown footprint.
uh,
And this was a few months ago, and we noted several buildings. So Husk Hardware, a building in that footprint near Husk Hardware, the
yeah,
um,
I keep building,
the AIT building, um,
and it was something down on Person Street on the end down.
that building right on the corner of Person Street. So there were, at one point, there were 5 buildings. Oh, and the building that all the lawyers' offices are in, the PwC building.
Mm-hmm.
Those 5 buildings were for sale, and the only one that's been removed from for sale is the AIT building, because that just turned out to be a tactic to evaluate the property. So 4 buildings were for sale downtown. Have any of them sold to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge, but the beauty of it is whether they sell or not, T, the county and the city still collect the tax.
That part
We
right
don't do
there.
good on the sale tax now. We don't do good on sale tax, but we will still collect
Collect those property taxes.
tax. And so
Now we see, Floyd, a vacancy in the building. What's the name of that? The Crest building. So we see a vacancy in the first floor of the Crest building where Lumbee Bank used to be. We also are seeing that the Cameo Theater is for sale. So we've got now, again, 5 properties for sale, because remember, one was removed, one has been added now to the footprint on Hay Street, predominantly on Hay Street. And we see that the Crest Building has a vacancy. What's going on downtown, Floyd?
I don't know, Tish, but we also, another caveat, the city have also mentioned that they got a $1.4 million grant to revitalize the market house. So I don't know, Tish. It seems to me that the growth that has been indicated is moving at a much slower, is returning back to a much slower pace because the city
What does that
department of
mean?
building. Well, there's gonna have to be some type of evaluation as it go forward. Even with the downtown association, the city built this large parking deck with no elevator, and it has the first floor that's vacant. And I'm still just wondering how you build a building with a parking deck with no elevator. I'm just still mind boggled with that. I just, I can't.
Mr. Floyd, it was supposed to go in. You know that.
But I'm just my again. This is another one of the city projects. Is that just like the four that was not completed and the contractor walked away? I just can't understand it. You can't explain to me how you gonna build a parking deck with no elevator. I mean, yeah,
You
and you
do
act like
understand that the intent was to put an elevator in.
I'm not. That's the
And that's
first.
why the city is suing or threatening to sue Jordan Jones and the developer PCH because they were supposed to put in the parking the
T,
elevator.
T, that should have been
It
done
should
as
have happened a lot.
part of the
Mr.
plan.
Floyd, we were it was the recommendation was made while I was still on council. Don't ask me why the rest of the council members did not understand that we needed to move forward with some sort of action.
I mean, I understand that, T, but I'm still back to square one.
Yeah, back to
How
square
you gonna
one.
build a, you talk about handicap. You always talk about handicap accessibility, and you're gonna build a 4-story parking deck with no elevator. So you expect for the senior citizen and a person with disability to park on the fourth floor, and then how is he or she's gonna, get back down if all the handicap parking spaces are busy on the first
That's a
floor?
good question, Mr. Floyd. That's a great question and one that I don't have the answer to.
But now I hope that these buildings is not, would not have an adverse effect on the growth that the city is planning, but an evaluation would have to be there. And then again, I just hope, Chief, I really hope that as they look at the renovation of the market house, that the contractor that they have will please complete the project.
Mr. Floyd, never mind.
I mean, we get so many projects started there, and the contractors walk off. So I just really want the city to concentrate, along with the contractor, to invest, to investigate this contractor or whoever that is going to do this renovation, that he or she has started projects and completed the project.
Yeah.
That's all I'm asking you, Teach. Is
Well,
that
there was a design that was supported earlier this year that involved extending the pavers around the market house into a square perimeter.
yes?
But Assistant Public Services Director Byron Reeves highlighted that there are challenges with that and that they would need to replace the yield signs at each at the traffic circle exits with stop signs. It also creates some pedestrian
Teach, come
issues
on, Teach.
that need
Come,
to be fine
come on,
tuned.
Teach. That's not even a major project. You just take the yield sign down and put up a stop sign. That's all you
No, no, I understand, but I think the intent of the conversation at this point is to highlight that sometimes I think that the intent is to highlight that sometimes people have great ideas, but they don't think about everything that goes into them. And I think right now what they're trying to do is just sort of finalize all of the fine tuning because the expectation is that within 2 years this project will be completed, Mr. Floyd.
okay. Who makes the sign, city Teach, for the city of Fayetteville?
I don't even know.
Do you not have a sign department? You was on the city council.
Yeah, but I don't know who makes the signs. I don't
We
know.
have a sign. The city of Fayetteville has a sign department down there.
I know we have a print shop, so they print the signs down there. They're printing stop signs.
I don't know, but they do have a sign shop. I mean, downtown off of what was it, Russell Street, somewhere down that way.
Okay.
So, so the city can print the sign. I mean,
That
come on,
don't
you
make it
don't
free,
take give
Floyd,
about a
and
sign,
it
people.
doesn't. But again, I'm just saying sometimes we don't think about all the nuances. So as I think that as this project is moving forward, what we're going to see is the highlighting of all the different nuances that could make this project a possibility.
Thank you, Tish. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Floyd,
Thank you
I'm
so
gonna
much.
be honest with you. I don't.
I
I
mean,
I think that the conversations surrounding the market house have been so they've been so up and down, and so it's so many different perspectives that I'll be straight with you and tell you I don't really care about the conversation about repurposing the market house.
what
I've
Tish is
always
now, I'm have to disagree with you now. I want them to do whatever it takes to repurpose the market house so in that you served on the council and all the elected official minorities that serves on the very government boards
mhm.
will ride by there and see what the struggle is and what the struggle was and what the struggle is still today. See, so sometimes if you remove it, then
I don't think it
some
should be
people think
removed. Yeah, I
no,
don't
but
think it
some
should.
people think that you have arrived.
Yeah, I don't
Okay,
think it should be removed because I do, and I agree with you. I'm glad you said that because I think that for me, and I said this all along, I think that the market house stands as a testament to the endurance, the strength, and the fortitude of Black folk in Cumberland County.
yeah,
Because if you were at one point sold as property at this structure, but now within less than a mile, you govern the entire community that this structure stands in, that speaks to your resiliency. It speaks to your ability to overcome. And I think that people miss that message, Floyd. So I agree with you. It
I
should
mean,
stand as a testament.
I mean, because many of us once we get elected
We
and
think
get
we made it.
positioned, we think that we have arrived.
We think we
But,
made
but
it.
when you ride by there and you look at your ancestors, you're only a step away.
That's right. Mr.
Okay,
Floyd, speaking of arriving and being a step away, and I know this is a weird juxtaposition here, but I think that the Cumberland County schools may think that they have arrived, Mr. Floyd, because 17 of their schools have been removed from the underperforming list for the state of North Carolina. I don't really know what that means because at the end of the day, I think that most of the schools in Cumberland County have performed so poorly that even a small improvement is no real win for this community. We need a major overhaul of the education system, the education structure, and I would never want my children to be in the public schools in this area because Mr. Floyd, I've been in these schools and they don't seem to be preparing these children.
but you got to look at teeth. That's the best that we have, and our community send to them the best that we can send. The state provide 55 to 58% of their budget to education. That's K-12, 1 through 12, community college, and 4-year college. The county gives so much to education, and the federal government provide so much for education. So the school system within itself do what it can with the money that they have.
Why is the
Now,
conversation about educating our children always tied to money, though? I recognize that teachers have to be paid. And I think if a vast majority of the funding that goes into the schools was repurposed for teacher pay and was removed from some of these other dynamics, we may see a better outcome from our students for our students. But why is it always tied to a dollar amount? Because when we were poor and didn't have nothing, our kids seemed to be doing better academically.
what teach? I mean, back then, teach. I when I finished high school, back then, you know, uh, uh, the, the technology that we had was a party line. You too young to remember that.
I remember where you can get on the phone and patch people in.
Yeah, no, your house was connected to four other houses,
Oh
so you
yeah,
had
yeah,
to
where
wait.
you had the switchboard.
No, no, you had to wait to get online because for you had to wait. That was our that was our technology at that time. Okay, so it was more so a family and a
Community.
method, you know. So now we have everything today is electronic.
Which is
Everything,
not, it's not doing us some great service.
you know. You talk to a kid. I mean, when you go to the register, they got a Big Mac. Okay, not McDonald's now.
Right.
They got
Computer.
a picture of a Big Mac.
Gotcha.
You follow what I'm saying? You know, so it's not. And then when you give the person the change back, if that computer don't say that you will do back 56 cents, if that person got a count,
You're never going to get your change.
brother, you
But
talking about a
that's
nightmare.
why that's why I still want to, and I'm asking this question for our audience to really think about this. Why do we keep tying student outcomes to dollars? Because when we didn't have dollars, our students performed better. I'm specifically speaking about minority communities, and not even just minorities, because when the when our schools were one building and everybody came into the same building to learn, and they all sat in the classroom and got their specific individualized reader books, we were smarter.
You was a teacher. We was more community, or because the teacher lived in the community.
So
Okay.
okay, thank you for saying that. So let me say this, Mr. Floyd, because I recently saw that they expanded a program that I brought to the city of Fayetteville.
Hmm.
I brought a program to the city of Fayetteville in concert with a local bank. They put some dollars to this program where they said, we will give you money to be able to create this program. And the program was specifically designated, when I brought it, specifically designated for teachers to have a down payment for their home. But the caveat was that they had to live in certain communities. My thinking was exactly what you're saying. Let's get back, instead of having teachers live so far away from where they teach, let's get back to having teachers in the communities that they're teaching, living in the communities that they're teaching in, because we have to invest in community, because that's what matters. If I'm seeing you outside and then I'm seeing you at school, and I have a higher likelihood of seeing your mama drive by, or we all outside cutting our grass together, we are building community and communication where we're reestablishing the opportunity to strengthen our educational system. It's broken, Floyd, because of just what you said. It's not money, it's broken community.
Well, teach, when you look at it, it's just like fields itself. Teachers, even if you're a police officer, fireman,
Yes,
or
it was for first responders and teachers. Yes, sir.
okay, you know, there's a sense of whatever, a nurse. You have to love what you're doing,
You have to,
and
because it can't be about the money.
yeah, and teachers, although they're underpaid, if you look at, like you said, the dollars, they're underpaid. But when you take out $1,100 off your net to make sure that that child,
Has what they need.
and you only get a tax credit of $250,
Yep.
and I'm only at 4,300,
Yep.
and your government and my government at 4,300, they are going to take out a third teacher
Yep.
through taxes. So that only leave you with so much money to operate. So you have to love what you're doing. And you mentioned that 17 schools were taken off the list. But what I don't understand is that if you are surrounded by failing schools, and if you can get
Come on, Mr. Floyd.
you the grandmother, and if your daughter can talk you into fixing her your grandson, her son, a peanut butter sandwich, and put him in your car, and you drive him to school, and encourage you too as a grandmother to pick him up.
Hmm.
What's wrong with that? I mean, we get upset think that all kids have to go to public school.
Right.
No, No, I mean, if imagine that teacher now, all the schools around you are failing.
Hmm.
You the grandmother.
Why would I say, listen, why would I put my, Mr. Floyd? That is exactly why my grandson is with me during the day now. Because even at the daycare level, unless you are at one of these really nice exclusive daycares that's going to cost you a mortgage and then some, you are not putting your child, you're not setting them up to win by putting them in daycare. So
You
he's
know,
here with us, and my 3-year-old grandson can spell his 3-syllable name. He knows how to recognize his alphabet. He understands his colors. He's developing mentally and cognitively, and we're out making other connections with other children so that he can get that peer support. But we don't. The Lord has blessed us, and we don't have to play in this system. But for all the people that have to play in this system, it's scary, Floyd, because every parent doesn't have this option.
you don't teach. So therefore, with the I think it's opportunity scholarship,
Hmm.
if you were able to get, I think it's $4,000 plus, I mean, for your child to attend a school, a different school other than a public
Why
school.
wouldn't you?
But we think all money
It's
should
supposed
go
to
to,
funnel into these failing schools.
yeah, I mean, so for me, if you are willing to agree upon those things that your daughter or any mother or any father,
Right.
you want the best for your offspring, whether it's your
Absolutely.
granddaughter, grandson, or whoever. So, so when you look at the overall thing, again, the community send to the county school system the best,
Hmm.
and now the county school system, with the funding that they have, try to do uh, the best. But my thing of it is, and I'll let you move forward
Go
with
ahead.
it, is that school system, just like if you look back at it as it relates to cell phone, that's a perfect example. The school system said we're not going to look at banding school system.
Right.
We're going to let the principal determine how those.
The policy on cell
Okay.
phones.
But
Uh-huh.
if the school system was centrally ran, then it would be a different.
Because you'd have
But
a uniform policy.
the the principal has greater autonomy over the school. I know he don't have, than the school board or superintendent, the principal. But if it was centrally ran, then if I need a biology teacher, you know, the central office would send a biology teacher to Smith.
Yeah,
You
I
see
don't
what
know
I'm saying?
how all that works, but I'll tell you, I do
It's
have
site
some
based.
concerns. I
It's
have
site
some
based.
concerns about centralizing everything because I think then you take the creativity out
But
of
you
the
get a
process.
balanced system. You get a
But
balance.
Mr. Floyd,
That
that
means
hasn't
a teacher
worked
don't
for
come
that has
in.
that hasn't
No,
that doesn't work.
now teach a teacher don't come in and say that I want to teach at Jack Brick. Okay, if the same open
Oh
is
no,
at,
I think as far as
okay,
employment is concerned, you go where we send you because you
that's,
work for
that's what I'm saying.
Cumberland County Schools.
It should be site based ran. The whole system should have one centralized
Well,
point.
I think they're moving toward that. Mr. Floyd, I don't know if many people know this, but the schools in North Carolina are shifting from a system, a data system that was segmented by, I don't know if it was by county or by school, but it's now going to be nationwide, I think, eventually with this new system that they're implementing. And I think that they're moving toward, I think that the schools are moving toward, no,
See,
no, really, because
see,
they're doing it now. Most of the schools haven't even completed their enrollments because they're moving over to this new
see,
system in Cumberland County.
North Carolina has 100 counties, correct?
Yes.
And they have 115 school systems.
And they're
And,
starting with their data. They're
North
starting with the data management by
now
making all of that uniform.
and North and in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, it's divided by Edgecombe and Nash County. Okay,
Hmm.
Nash County, which is the economic side of Rocky Mount, wants to separate itself from Edgecombe County side. You know who live in Edgecombe County side. You know
I
who live.
understand.
Okay, so what I'm saying, if you want to look at it, why would you fund 115 schools district? Why not just say we're gonna fund 100 school districts?
Right. So
Okay.
here's what I'm saying though. This is what I'm saying to you. I think that we are getting ready to see a more universal approach. Let me tell you why, Mr. Floyd,
Yeah, let me hear this, Natty.
because with data management, there used to be a program called Power Schools that each of the schools managed their data through. And this was a segmented system. Cumberland County is in the first iteration. They are the first, one of the first counties to implement this new system that is now going to be universal, not just across North Carolina, but across the United States of America.
Okay,
So
peace.
they are universalizing data
Okay.
management. So that's I think one of the
We
first.
talking about data. That's good. But I'm talking about non-data. Is that you still gonna have 115 school districts with Rocky Mount and Edgecombe coming in as the 116 school districts. You
Mhm.
can get all the data that you want, until you say, I'm going to fund 100 and you all scramble the egg. You can throw all the data in that you want
No,
to
I
do.
get what you're saying. I agree with you. I agree with you. We need to reduce some of the redundancies.
That's my point. Then you can bring in the data.
I agree with you. I agree
That's
with
what
that.
I'm saying.
But don't think that that's an impossibility. Now, Mr. Floyd, let
I'm
me
not
ask
saying
you.
it's not.
Let
I'm
me
not
ask.
saying it's not.
But it's a stretch, but it's not an impossibility.
No,
Mr.
no.
Floyd, what about these judgeships at the state level? What's happening in terms of, because when we talk elections, we tend to focus on presidential elections. We tend to focus on the city council, the county commissioners. We don't talk much about the school board. We don't talk much about these judges. What are we going to see when these elections are finalized? If let's do some if then scenarios.
Geez, let me go back and look at the General Assembly, okay,
Hmm.
and start there, okay, with the House and Senate.
Hmm.
If the House and Senate passes a bill
Hmm.
that the governor doesn't like, and the governor vetoed the bill, and if the governor then wants to carry the members of the General Assembly to court, who hears that? The Supreme Court consists of 5 Republicans and 2 Democrats. Okay. Now there's a possibility that may shift. Okay, and it'll be 6-1
Hmm.
again. The state loses because I would say state loses. You have 6 Republicans and 1 Democrat. Then on the appellate court, there's 3 appellate court, which is 15, and there's 3 up for election.
Hmm.
The main thing that we have to look at in this election, number one, is the court system because whatever is done by both houses ultimately can be decided in the court. And
Hmm.
if it's Republican ran, then it will most likely be a political decision, if you
Right.
understand what I mean. So that means that we loses to a certain
Right.
extent. So we need to be concerned about 2 things in this upcoming election, whether Robertson win governor or Stein win governor. Doesn't make any difference. They both coming up under the same restraint that the General Assembly have placed this governor on. It doesn't make any
Right.
difference. Now, if they cannot control both chambers and lose their veto proof, there may be some negotiation. But if they are veto proof, you know, both House and Senate, then it's gonna be hard even at the presidential election, to get things done. Because
So what I think I'm hearing you say is that legislation could be potentially decided at the court level.
if
I mean, we've already seen that. We've seen that.
yes, yes, I mean,
Mhm.
so that's what we ought to be concerned at. 2 things: the judgeship levels, and also the down ticket. Okay,
Mhm.
because if the governor vetoed the budget and you have 71 Republicans instead of 72, you know, and the bill does not pass and the veto is not override, it doesn't matter to you. The General Assembly, based upon Constitution, operate off the previous year's budget.
Right.
So it doesn't matter. If the governor veto it, the government still work. You just have less money.
Right.
You know, so what I'm saying to you, you got to look at the down ticket. If the president, the United States president, does not have strong support from Congress to enact bills of whatever they state to the public that they want to do, it's not going to be successful. One thing that you have to look at right now is 7-7, seven Democrats, seven Republicans. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, but with the redistricting, the way it's drawn now, it can be 11-3 or 10-4.
Mm-hmm.
With the District 1, U.S. House District 1 as being an R1, so it's a swing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we know that North Carolina is going to add at least three more Republicans to Congress.
Right.
And then again, that makes that a little bit more difficult if you don't have the majority in the both House and in the Senate. It takes U.S. Senate. It takes 60 to
Mm-hmm.
move anything forward. So the judgeship, Chief, is critical, even at the Supreme Court level. It's going to rely upon them to make the determination on what was passed by the House and Senate. So,
Right.
but we concentrate on the governor. It's good to concentrate on the governor, just like uh, yesterday, the PACs, the minority
I
PACs.
was just getting ready to ask you to tell us about these political action committees and their impact on our statewide elections.
Well, political action groups, Chief, they help fund individual campaigns. Some people take them, and some people don't.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, have a strong following that helps back a person and give person an additional vote. You
Mm-hmm.
know, but this group, some kind of way, the talk was that why didn't you do what happened to Sherry Beasley? That the group didn't come out.
Who was the group? Who was the group that didn't come out?
The minority packs.
The
Okay.
okay. Okay.
When Sherry Beasley ran. And so this way here, it sort of pushed them out this time, you know, to become more vocal.
Well, because
And
it seems that these PACs are now are supporting Josh Stein. And so the question is, how are you so supportive of Josh Stein, who is not a minority, but you did not support Sherry Beasley, who is a double minority?
well, Tish, you have to look at it in politics, Tish. Politics is, let me go back and say this, Tish, and not jumping around. You know, we had we had, in our community, we don't do well unless it comes from the executive branch. We can't make our decisions unless it comes from the executive branch to tell us who to vote for, if you understand what I mean.
Okay.
Okay. So it's this,
As was demonstrated in the election with Kirk Deviere and Val Applewhite.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, it's just like, some kind of way we are, our community is easy to manipulate. Okay. We're easy. And your friend Dudu told you that sometimes it's not best just to sit in to fit in.
Right.
And many of us,
I miss him, Floyd, because he was such a genuine individual.
let me tell you that,
And
many of
even
us,
though everybody went and sat up in his shop, he didn't fool up with everybody.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, many of them just want to sit in, and that's our problem. For instance, just like we talked about PACs, if you look at where the money is given as relates to PACs on the House side and the Senate side, and you look at the white campaign who receives the PAC money and the black, you will see a big difference in the amount of money that minority candidates receive
Hmm.
from the PACs. Now, but
Which
they
should sort
expect
of be eye opening. It should be eye opening because one of the things that you said to me when we were discussing this offline was that the minority PAC is funded in 50% of their funding comes from the um, Speaker of the House's walking money.
that's the black caucus in the General Assembly.
So this is what when you told me that my wheels started spinning. You said 50% of the funding for the Black Caucus comes from the Speaker of the House's budget. So Floyd
And the
immediately,
Senate, and the Senate pro tem.
right. And I looked at you and I said, well, Floyd, the Speaker of the House is a white Republican. And you said, exactly. And what I realized as soon as I said that, I said, oh, so even the Black Caucus has restrictions on them, because if you go against the Speaker of the House and how his agenda, you're going to lose your funding. So Black people don't even realize how limited their power is, because, and just like, and I talk about this with HBCUs, how many HBCUs were not only founded by Caucasian people, but are still heavily funded by Caucasian people. So when you have this push, and I am not an HBCU girl. I attended an HBCU. I'm not the person that tells my kids you got to go to an HBCU, and here is why. Because Mr. Floyd, for some reason, we have this ideology that something Black that was created by white people does Black people better, and that baffles me. That baffles me.
What Tish, you have to look at it, Tish, not only from that level that you're speaking of. When we look at just locally and coming right back, when you look at our county board of commissioners, when you look at our city council, you know, we are there is a minority control, but we are simply carrying out someone else's agenda. If you
Yeah,
understand what I
because Floyd, people will give you a little bit of something to keep you out of they big something. They'll give you a little bit of something to keep you busy enough to stay out of what they really got going on.
but you're carrying out that big something on their behalf.
Because you want to keep your little bit of something, so you